Hello and welcome to Economic Forum, where we discuss different issues affecting our economy. There can be issues to do with agriculture, to do with mining, to do with manufacturing, industry, tourism and education. All those are discussed here with regards to how they impact on our economy. My name is John Masugu. Agriculture is the backbone of our economy, and many people have moved onto the land since our land reform program. And it is important that they have the expertise that make agriculture a business, a successful business in Zimbabwe, in order for us to maintain the bread basket status that we had in the past. So it is in that regard that today we are talking agriculture, and we have an expert in agriculture. This is Dr. Douglas Ncube. Dr. Ncube, welcome to Economic Forum.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Many viewers and listeners will remember you because years ago you used to host a program called Kurima Kwakanaka on ZBC TV and on Radio Zimbabwe, or Radio 2 as it was known then. You used to host Nahu Dzevarimi and other programs. So welcome to the screen again.
Thanks.
Yes. Now let's talk about the summer season, because we are already into the summer season, as to how farmers should prepare themselves. We have so many farmers, some experienced, some new, and so forth. So what we want to do is to make sure that the skills on the farms really realize good produce. Tell us about the preparation for the summer season, starting off with a review of the last season.
What a farmer should do is what we call keeping records every day, every week, every month, every season, every year. So when the previous season ends, you need to sit down maybe with your workers, your managers, or yourself and whatever team you have, and review and see what happened the previous season. Where did you go wrong? You take notes. Where did you do good? That question is very important, because you want to maintain that ability to do good. You wanted to do 10 hectares and you're doing 10 tons per hectare. Now you say to yourself, where did we go right? You take notes. Where did we go wrong? Should we have managed to get to 11 tons per hectare? All these things are necessary, because if you start the following season in summer just like that, you don't know what went wrong, you don't know what went good. Obviously, if you're lucky, you maintain. If you're not lucky, your yields will go down. And the other thing you do that is to check so that your fertilizers, which are very expensive today, have worked effectively. Is your pH all right? You can only do that by taking your soil at the end of the season for soil sampling, soil testing, and then you are told what you need to do. If you go blindly, you are not going to be a very good farmer, especially these days when fertilizers and chemicals are costing too high.
Yes.
So when you have established that, you say to yourself, did we make a profit from the crop which we grew? Because the choice is the farmers, it's not anyone else. If you are given something by someone you don't want, then your heart is not on that crop. So you select a crop which you know at the end of the season you make a profit.
Yes.
The idea is for you to make a profit, not just to grow, to eat, and then that's it. You must try to sell.
But both are important,
Both.
livelihoods and profit.
Yes.
For business, as we are emphasizing on agriculture as a business.
Yes.
Yes. But while we're there, Dr. Ncube, things are no longer as obvious as they used to be. We knew very well that towards the end of the year, rains will start falling and so forth. But because of climate change, seasons have been affected. You want to say something right at the beginning of the program about how farmers should also be aware of climate change?
What I want to say first is, let's talk about rainfall per se. You will hear Met saying the season is going to be normal. But what exactly are they saying when the season is normal? They are saying you are growing your crops, you're going to expect 500 millimeters, full stop, and you get 500 millimeters. But it's not evenly distributed for the growth of the crop. So we need to be very careful when we listen to someone. That rainfall is not evenly distributed. And then that means you've got a problem. For example, if we have rains from November to December, we have 500 millimeters. To the Met guy, that is a normal season. To the crop and the farmer, it's not normal because it's not evenly distributed. You're struggling now from January to end of the season. You get patchy rains here and there, and your crops are down. But when you stand up at meetings and say, no, our season was normal, it's not. It's how it is distributed. So the impact of climate change is causing that. Then you have droughts, and then towards the end, you have what we call cyclones. And then devastating, you have 1,000 millimeters in 10 days, which is too much. That's not normal. But to the guy at the Met, that's okay. You had rainfall.
But we ask that question because it is very important on productivity. Do you capacitate the farmers to understand this as agricultural experts?
Yes, we have a lot of examples, plots where demonstrations are carried out so that the farmer can see what to do in a dry year, what to do in a good year or above surplus rainfall. We normally ask farmers to do tie ridges and grow their crop on ridges. And then across the ridge, you put a ridge which holds water when it is flowing out so that that water goes down.
That's Dr. Douglas Ncube, who is an agricultural expert. Today, we are talking farming. We want to discuss how farmers can prepare for the summer crop season so that the yield is much better, because what is emphasized nowadays is productive or business in agriculture. So join us in the second segment of Economic Forum. We are in the second segment of Economic Forum, where today we are discussing agriculture. As we always say, agriculture is a backbone, or is the backbone to our economy, and we would like to retain our bread basket status that we had years ago. So we have Dr. Douglas Ncube, who is an agricultural expert. We are talking about how to prepare for productivity in agriculture, especially for the summer season. You have talked about analyzing the previous year and choosing the crops, and we've also talked about the effects of climate change, which farmers should understand. Now, Dr. Ncube, let's talk about preparation for planting.
Preparation for planting is very, one of the most crucial element of farming. The reason why I'm saying it's crucial is this. A lot of farmers, you find them still growing maize in December, end of December, beginning of January, what they call replanting. I'll get something maybe in 2-3 months. That doesn't happen. If you are lucky, you get very little. Now, here's the reason why we don't recommend that. This is to do with what we call heat units. In October, November, and third week of December, the sun is at its maximum in the southern hemisphere. It is warming the soil. The soil is warm. You wake up in the morning, you find the soil is still warm. That is good for your planting and for your crops. They grow fast. From the 21st of December, we normally say don't plant things like maize, cotton, and so forth. This is because now we are losing sunlight per day. In about 2 to 3 days, we lose a minute. Come December, we have about 13 hours of sunlight. And from there, things change. The birds, the plants, they know that. If you look at nature, you find they know something is happening and there's no more growth. The roots decide to say, okay, guys, that's enough for this year. We're shutting shop. We see you again in October. This happens to us human beings. We don't feel it. We only start complaining in April. It's now getting cold. But the plants, they start feeling it the moment we lose a minute a day from the 22nd, 23rd of December. The soil is getting cooler.
And you'd have spent lots of money buying fertilizers, buying seed, and
true.
so forth. Now, that takes us to budgeting, the importance of actually budgeting for your agricultural season. Because at the end of the day, you want to realize profit.
You need to budget to know how much you're going to spend for the whole season, for your labor, for your inputs including fertilizers, pest chemicals, tractor maintenance, whatever you do, you need to have a budget. If you go to a bank, they'll say, where is your budget? Where is your cash flow? Cash flow meaning how much do you spend a month, or how much do you want a month to use? Second month, end of the season, how much have you spent? You need to do that. Otherwise, you are not farming at all. You can't open a shop and you don't know how much you have got that day, because every day at the end of selling groceries or whatever, you must count and find out how much money you have made.
Is this happening on the ground, Dr. Ncube, both in the rural areas as well as on the farms?
Currently, it's not happening. The reason, I think, the big one is we expect to get free inputs from government every season, so we are not bothered. A farmer should learn to stand by himself so that you can control what you grow, and you can argue. If you are just given maize inputs, that's it. You forget about
Yes.
your back pocket.
Maybe we should explain that, yes, government chips in to assist, but this should not be forever. It's to help farmers to take off, and thereafter they should be able to actually look after themselves. You want to say something about that?
Yeah.
In terms of developing that culture of actually funding our own agricultural businesses?
True. Farmers must be given a maximum of 5 years getting free inputs, and then thereafter they must be able to stand on their own. Government should encourage farmers to bank every season. The government should go around and say, how many bags did you have? Where is the money? Because it's the money from government which helped you. Government must have the right to find out what you have done with the profits. And then after 5 years, you are on your own. And then that way you feel that you need to check every cent. Where has it gone to? But farmers might say, but the exchange rate is killing me. That's another thing which I don't think is for this program, but it needs to be looked at. $1 today to 600, $1 today to 700. So farmers are saying they lose value because they're being paid in RTGS. But what I need to emphasize now is any farmer must be in control of his market. If you are not in control, then you are not farming at all. You wait for someone to tell you how much will buy your maize for. Long back, farmers and government used to sit down and agree on a price for cotton, for maize, for soybeans. And then they shake hands and then they go out. No one complains because you have agreed. Yeah.
But nowadays, government has even helped in the establishment of land banks so that farmers are able to utilize them. Advise farmers about how to use the banking system in order to fund their agriculture.
They need to approach the bank first and say, this is what I want to do. The bank will say, okay, where are you? They will come and visit your farm and check whether you can be given any money at all. They will do their own due diligence. But you have to be careful because it takes quite a while, 3 to 4 months before you get a yes or no. So you need to do that starting maybe May, June, July for the summer, for the following summer. And the bankers would like to know what happens if you don't pay. What do they attach? How good are you and your laborers to grow a crop?
Well, maybe that's where the catch is, what to attach. And people may be afraid to use the banks because they fear their property, their assets may be attached. Advice on that. If you're taking farming, you have to take with all the risks.
Yeah, if you're a farmer, be a good farmer so that the word attachment doesn't come into the ring. Be a good farmer, show all what's happening because they will send inspectors to check out how you're doing and they will advise you. This is where I always say farmers in this country, they don't want to consult to ask other people. There are experts around the country for cotton, for soya beans, for sugarcane, whatever, but they don't want because they don't want to pay. Long back, if you do your budget and there is no money or budget for a consultant, the banker will say, who's going to advise you? You can't say you've been farming for 100 years. Still, you need an expert because these guys are closer to the research stations where results are being sent back to the consultants who will come to you to say, this year we have changed, this variety is no longer available.
Dr. Douglas Ncube, who is an agricultural expert. Today we are talking farming, we are discussing agriculture, especially preparation for the coming season, or which is we are already in, that is the summer season, how farmers should prepare, including even the budgeting and also how to take risks. So join us in the third and final segment of Economic Forum. We are now in the third and final segment of Economic Forum where we are discussing agriculture. We've been talking about preparations for planting in the summer season. We are with Douglas Ncube, who is our agriculture expert, and we've talked about even funding itself. But on funding, Dr. Ncube, the issue of subsidies, do we still have them? And to which crops are we having subsidies?
I think when you mention the term subsidies, it talks a lot. There are a lot of things there involved. I'll give you an example in America where they grow cotton. The farmers wanted to pull out of cotton because they thought it was a waste of time. Government did not want that, but what they did was they paid the farmers to stay on the land. That's a subsidy. So a farmer has got money from somewhere. And then you look at subsidy, like mostly in Africa, where you give or you reduce the cost of fertilizers, the cost of seed, cost of fuel. Like for example, diesel. You found that for many years when I grew up, the price of diesel was always lower than petrol. But now that has changed. That means government is not supplying a subsidy on fuel for farmers, which is diesel. So the farmers now have got a burden to pay more money for fuel. And that means their cost of production will go high. Government, in its own ways, will decide whether they've got enough money from the Ministry of Finance to subsidize. If they don't, then they don't do it. But in this country, we're lucky. Maybe Pupudza, Command Agriculture, I think that's part of subsidy. The government is trying its best to help the farmer to stay on the land in that format, materially, not cash-wise. You'll find if you look around SADC, Zimbabwe is, I think, the country with the most highest cost of labor per hectare. The other countries like Zambia, Malawi is low. And that's how they manage to beat us when it comes to selling of grains to whoever. Their prices are lower than in Zimbabwe.
Maybe let's talk about beating some of the risks that we are faced in agriculture. We have field fires. I think you've already explained in detail about climate change, especially when there's not enough rainfall, and any other risks that farmers should be aware of as they continue with their farming.
I think, okay, the first one here, let's talk about field fires, which are common in this part of the world from September, October, and until we get rains. The problem here is long back. If you see people putting out a fire, the rule said that you stop whatever you are doing and help do that. These days, you just drive and go. And number two is we are not seeing many fire guards. A fire guard is where you have your fence, and both sides of your fence, you clear the land so that fire cannot jump from one side into your side.
And they're recommended?
With 2 meters, 3 meters each side. Yeah, you can use also roads as your fire guard. So fire also takes lives. If you listen to the news a few days ago in Esgodin, 10 people were killed when they were caught in the middle of a fire because the wind had changed and they were surrounded by fire and they died. That is not good. There is no cost to losing life because you can't put a cost to say I've lost my car for 2,000. You cannot say I've lost my laborer for 5,000. There's no cost, which is one of the biggest risks. The other risk is pests, quillia, locusts, not cutting off stocks on time so that there's a pest reduction, disease reduction. People are taking it casual. Long back, there were inspectors who used to come to your place and they see things growing, they will fine you. Those days are gone. I think we need to reintroduce this so that people feel that if they do anything wrong, they'll be fined. And also the community. We used to have people called the Majengetavu, who were from the chief, and they would sit down every month to discuss what to do with contours, what to do with failed fires, what to do with fire guards and so forth. But it's not there anymore. So the risk is increasing every year.
Let's conclude this segment by discussing about the kind of capacity building that you need as a farmer yourself as well as those who work with you.
Right. First of all, let's look at the farmer himself. He can be lucky he goes for training. But what about the laborer? The laborer is told, go and weed. Here's a hoe. But he doesn't know why he's doing it. Because at his home, Kumusha, he doesn't do it. As long as the maize is there and the grass is there, he's not worried. But now, he needs to be told why we are doing it. First, we're trying to help the crop to have more moisture. If there are weeds, the crop and the weeds are sharing moisture. But we need the moisture more on our crop. He should know when tasseling occurs. What does it mean? But if he's not trained, but he doesn't know what to look after thereafter, when to control stalk borer. He needs to be told why they are dropping fertilizer into the crop of maize. Fertilizer. The training is not just for the managers, the supervisors, it's everyone from the lowest ranked personnel to the highest. They must be trained in everything, in what you are doing.
That's Dr. Douglas Ncube, an agricultural expert, and today we were talking about how to prepare for the summer cropping season so that we get a good yield and we remain profitable on our farms, because we want to promote agriculture as a business over and above our livelihoods. If you'd like to get in touch with us on this program, you can do so on the numbers that are showing on your screen. And you also can interact with us on the social media platforms that are also showing. You can also view some of our old programs on our YouTube channel, which is Economic Forum Zimbabwe. So on behalf of Dr. Douglas Ncube, an agricultural expert, and the crew behind the scenes, this is John Masuku wishing you happy viewing.